What's up, guys? So I'm gonna be doing a S-class tier list here. I have a couple extra versions of characters, but I'm just doing this in the meantime while I make another video. It's gonna take a while, so I'm just doing a tier list in the meantime, just so I can get some content out. And I got my homie Dole with me today.
So I'm just here, gonna give my input where I think I should just chill out. So
All right, we'll start from the bottom for the most part, or we'll just like grab them out because there's a couple versions of characters here. The bottom tier is obviously like just like these randoms. Introduction Puri, uh, Genos versus Saitama, and Arms Mode Genos. It's the versions that fought Deep Seeking. Genos just has a blatantly better performance against Deep Seeking. Like Puri like
yeah.
loses to like dehydrated Deep Seeking like pretty bad.
Whereas like Genos with one arm is like already damage is able to do way better against dry deep seeking than Puri does.
Yeah, and like the only reason he lost the arm is because he like got off guarded. He literally punched like Deep Seeking, hydrated Deep Seeking so hard he like dehydrated him.
And then that Genos at the bottom is just like baseline S class level, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
this
what
is
we
just
can
like when he
that.
enters the S class. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
so
like Pig God, we'll make it. He'll probably go into the next tier. He doesn't really do anything to be honest, but he should be better than like Introduction Puri. Even being able to like fight Gums to any degree and like push him like in the Monster Association arc when he's trying to like bite on Tank Top Master is still better
yeah,
than like anything these guys have.
he has like it's like vague like the vague comparisons to Tank Top Master and like Codgers is like probably better than anything below because like those are just like deep seeking little characters.
Yeah, these guys are like and Deep Sea King is like
It's like
so fodder.
like Pit God is like closer to someone like honestly like closer to like a Garo type character than he is to Seeking at this point.
Yeah, no, Sea King is like horrible for him. And then we'll have like I got this version of Metal Bat because this is like what we're just gonna be counting this as like base Metal Bat pretty much. He has like no trouble with Melzigard at all. But neither does like any of the other S class, so it doesn't really matter. But he should be vaguely better than everybody else here.
It's
Um,
like a really good Fever base metal bet is in the VGS if you count that as canon to the manga, which it should be, Metalbat does better against like Carnage Kabuto than either like end of season one Genos or beginning of season two Genos does against Carnage Kabuto. They
yeah,
both have
exactly.
his so
Yeah, he definitely should just be above this level, like pretty good. And then skipping Melzigard fight Puri because there's probably not a huge difference in terms of, like physical power or anything like speed. It's mostly just like his skill set is different and his mindset is different. Um, he should definitely be above like the one that fought Melzigard to like a good degree, and he has like way better abilities. So he should at bare minimum be above the Metal Bat that fought Melzigard and everyone below him. Um, the only problem people will see with this is that he's stated to be like the weakest S class, or he calls himself the weakest S class twice. And like,
yeah, that statement's like it's like not necessarily only referring to like raw physical power. It could be you can interpret it that way, but another interpretation is that Puri's mostly referring to like the unique abilities of the S class rather than like just like raw physical power because
yeah,
obviously Zombie Man exists and
yeah, he's like describing them as like more monstrous than him and things of that nature. So it's just like their special attributes just are beyond what he can do, and they have like a better chance of beating strong opponents than he does, or they're quicker at beating those opponents, which is why another reason why Tank Top is gonna have to be here. Um, you could argue that Puri's basis for like some of the S class is what he's seen, and he saw Melzigard fight Metal Bat fight. The only reason I think he's above currently is just because he has like abilities that like base Metal Bat in the Melzigard fight, assuming he can't using like Fighting Spirit or anything like that, shouldn't be able to
yeah,
beat
because
it. Like
they're both brawlers, but I think
yeah,
Puri just like better
yeah, like
against both of
Bristle
them.
Armor, like Vibration is just like enough to like beat somebody that he's like at least relative to in speed to some
Yeah,
degree. So
like the bristle armor is like it's just like a massive durability like increase. So Metalbat might just might not be able to hurt him at all.
yeah, yeah, he might just not be able to. And then Tank Top Master is like this one's like debatable. Um, I flip flop on this a couple times. Like I think consistently Tank Top Master probably wins, but there's like arguments to be made with Puri. Some of the bad arguments is just like he like was able to like survive attacks from Garo, which is pretty it doesn't matter because like sleeping Gar is like impressive and still thinks like Puri thinks that he could beat up like any S class that he's seen. So that would be like including like Base Bang or like in the Melzigard fight at least, Metal Bat, anyone like that he's seen fight. I guess like versions of Genos maybe. Um, but that's about it. Like it doesn't really get any
I
more
guess
than
you could
that.
also, he might consider Sleeping Garo like a more like impressive threat than Neon, maybe. Maybe you could
Yeah,
say that.
you could. Yeah, because like he's like scared when his Bursal armor doesn't work. Obviously, you could just you say that Neon is casual, but there it's arguable if Neon was even holding back in that instance or like was deliberately like suppressing himself to a great degree. Because like I guess he didn't expect Puri to be like to be able to take the attack.
And he was off. He was like surprised that Puri was able to like come back even stronger.
Yeah,
But for that initial hit, I don't think he has any like reason to hold back against Puri.
yeah.
So
The only argument you could make that I did notice is when Neon goes to the surface, he actually like the when he's talking about like the strong people in the or like down there in the Monster Association, he really only refers to Saitama. Like there's a blatant like showing on the screen that it is just Saitama. So he probably
yeah,
doesn't consider Puri. Yeah.
like Saitama literally knocked out Rover.
Yeah, so he's just like, no, dude, like that guy's like OP, right? So if he doesn't hold like Puri in like the same like he doesn't consider him strong, then like you could say he probably was holding back, which is fine because it's like a normal strike. It's not even like his stronger strikes that he used against like Drive Knight. So
I think what I would say is that I think Puri would probably win in a fight against Tank Top Master, but you could say Tank Top Master is like physically stronger, I suppose.
yeah, he's probably also faster as well. Like Puri has win cons maybe in terms of like vibration with their ability negation, since like it literally just vibrates your body. Um, so like if he gets that far and like Bristle Armor is a good defense, there's just like if he still thinks he would lose to like base Metal Bat, Tank Top should be better than that because like Tank Top arguably has like a better performance than like a semi pumped up Metal Bat, you could argue. So Tank Top Master should just be above in general, despite having like less abilities. And then
Yeah.
this Metal Bat like would stomp these two like pretty bad.
Yeah, like that Metal Bat has specifically at the end of the fight. Well, like even throughout the Garo fight, he just has like better like debatably at better like AP feats than everyone
Yeah,
below.
yeah. Like even before the end of the fight, he like is able to like make Garo's hands shake. He's like tripping out because of how much power that he had, which would
But
directly
like
scale above Tank Top.
at the end of the fight, there's like literally just a statement from Murata that
That
if
he would just
Garo had
kill.
gone at that state, yeah, he would
Yeah,
have
he
just
would have
died.
just he would have turned him into like a stain on the ground. So considering that, like he should just be able to one shot people like here.
Yeah. It's just like better than anything like anyone else below has him.
Yeah, he should just be able to one shot anyone there. Zombie Man's a weird one. Um, I will say that Zombie Man's really weird, just because like Zombie Man has like win cons against a lot of people, but like should theoretically lose to some other people. Like weaker forms of like Genos should be able to beat Zombie Man. If he like vaporizes his whole body or something, like Pig God could probably like eat him. But like the brawlers can't really do anything to him. Um, if you want to put him like super high,
Against Brawl,
yeah,
we know against Brawler specifically, he does really well against Carnage Kabuto in Carnage mode, which is like a Dark Shine level like Brawler,
yeah,
and obviously Dark stronger than everyone in B tier, so you should be able to outlast the Brawlers at least. Maybe pick God Ganeem or something. But
yeah. Like it's weird if you want to put him like super high based on like his regen. Like he like most people don't have a win con against him, then sure. But just going overall, like his physical abilities are mostly below these guys. But he is stated by like a Maya Mask to have like S class combat skills or whatever. So, and then coming towards like the end of this tier, they might go up. He might have to go up a tier. I'll see how this balances out. Um, but base bang kind of sucks.
you wanna take this first?
Yeah, yeah. So I know a lot of people like there's a couple people that thinks like for example like Atomic holding him as a rival like would make him relative to Atomic in base without the Sunblade, but the problem is like Atomic is most likely just basing that off of like their stature. Like he's the top of like the swordsman world, right? He has the most skill. He's like the peak of swordsmanship, and the same would apply to Bang in terms of like martial arts. So he's most likely basing it off of like some prime Hiruzen type of lore for Bang rather than like current Bang's abilities. especially because, for example, he thinks that Bang was gonna get damaged by Melzagard, and he like obviously Bang tanks that attack with like virtually zero damage, and he's just like, oh, that was like, you know, my back hurts a little bit, right? I'm getting rusty, right? So considering that, like, he probably doesn't really know Bang's base capabilities, at least like before the Melzagard fight. He like then he guess has some kind of basis, but that's it. Bang thinks that like he needs Bomb to take out Garo. Even when we see he and Bomb take or go on and fight Garo, he states that he didn't hold back and he couldn't even kill like half dead like forest Garo that was blind and like bleeding and shit. Like he had nothing left in the tank, and Bang and Bomb still couldn't like finish him off, which is like a really bad anti-feat for Bang, at least in base, because he literally says he does not holding back. So there's just like an overwhelming consistency. Like even when he sees Tatsumaki's arrow, or like not arrow, the thing she does to like Orochi's heart, the spear, he's still like, yeah, you know Garo won't die that easily, right? So like he's hyping up Garo really, really like a lot. And as he says that statement, he does have a basis for around how strong like current Garo would be. But it would be literally Forest Garo he's referring to. So like base Hero Hunter Garo, while like severely weakened, he's hyping up and like tripping out about. So there's just an overwhelming consistency that he's like, if not below, he's just barely around that like the Hero Hunter Garo level, maybe above due to skill. But that's about it.
Another thing I want to bring up for base Bang is that like people like even with all that, people will try to bring up like his sparring match with Darkshine, but that statement doesn't work for two main reasons. One, Darkshine is mostly like attributing Bang's like capabilities to his skill, and he's comparing it to Garo's, so it'd mostly be a skill feat anyway. But for two, we literally do not know how much effort they were using, so we can't
Yeah.
scale it regardless.
Yeah, at all. Like Darkshine, and we know that like it's more likely that Darkshine wasn't using his full power, just because he still thinks that he doesn't have like anyone who could rival him or anything like that. So considering that, he would still think that like base Bang can't rival him or like isn't someone that could beat him in a fight. He just like respects his skill. So there's no reason to say Darkshine was going all out, and we also don't know when that happened. So we don't know how strong Darkshine was. Yeah, we literally just don't know when.
It's way too vague of a statement to
Yeah,
use.
Darkshine literally still trains. Like you could say that doesn't necessitate that he got stronger, but there's a very strong possibility that he did get stronger, at least to some degree, because we just have no idea when. And with that being said, I mean, Watchdog Man just has better feats against Garo, like a stronger Garo.
Yeah, with all what Shattered said about like Bang, like hyping up Garo, Watchdog Man just like completely thrashes Garo like really badly.
Really
after
bad.
He fought, it's like maybe even a stronger Garo than when he fought Metal Bat.
Exactly. So it's just like it's a problem for Bang. Like, and then Watchdog Man has a deliberate counter to the more composed style of the Water Stream. Even Garo states that. You could argue that Bang is a lot more skilled and he'd just be able to adapt faster, but it's still like something that Bang has to take into account. And Watchdog Man has like insane speed feats against Garo. Like he's literally able to like stay on his hands at all time, like pretty hyper casually.
Another thing is that depending on how much you think Garo knows of Bang's abilities, Garo says that like Watchdog Man is just like completely unimaginable compared to anyone he's fought before.
Yeah.
Now this like probably isn't in regards to raw strength, because like Metal Bat technically has better raw feats than like Watchdog Man in terms of raw AP.
Yeah.
But like as an overall combatant, he's just like unimaginable.
Yeah. So it's definitely like makes more sense for him to be around here. And then if you think like, for example, like Tank Top or people spectating like that, like saw the fight with Melzagard, it'd be worse for Bang, because that would mean that like Tank Top is like very unsure if Bang can even beat Garo. So it's just
One more thing is that if you have an issue with Watchdog Man's placement, please keep in mind this is based on what Watchdog Man has done for sure. It's an empirical placement. So
yeah, we have no idea like his full strength, right? But the same applies to a lot of people on this list. We technically don't know a lot of the full strength. We don't know Tatsumaki's full power. We don't know like Drive Knight's full power, right? Blast as well, yeah. So we have no basis for like their full strength. We don't even know like current Flashy's full power technically, right? So there's no reason like
based on what we know so far, yeah.
This one's weird, but Backpack Child Emperor, he could go below these guys, but definitely is above everyone in this tier. I don't really care where in this section you put him. I'm just going off of a basis of like a basic chain, right? So Backpack Child Emperor absolutely like stomps on Phoenix Man, like really bad, like Demon Phoenix Man before he resurrects. Demon Phoenix Man is stated to be like a big shot. He states himself that he's like a middle manager, right? And if he's like a middle manager, then he's like above the riffraff, as he states. So he's above everybody, basically, that isn't a cadre. So if he's like nigh cadre level or just like above the demon level of the Monster Association for the most part, that would scale him above characters like Royal Ripper and like Bug God. And Royal Ripper and Bug God were like base Bug God and Royal Ripper were like slamming or like at least kind of contending with Garo. Probably a stronger Garo than the one that fights Bang. So if Child Emperor scales above Phoenix Man, that would scale him above like basically every demon in the association besides like G5 with his backpack, which should be better than anything like Base Bang or Watchdog Man have, where they're more so like beating up on like human Garo. He should also be able to do that.
Another thing is that because Child Emperor is able to react to and like dodge like Evil Natural Water's attacks, we know that Evil Natural Water is a cadre, and depending on how much how much you think like Showerhead and Supermouse know about like the strength of the cadres, they think half Monster Garo after coming back from Royal Ripper still like isn't cadre level. So if you take that scaling, then Child Emperor is like probably faster than that Garo. So.
Yeah, he should be able to damage. He should have more AP than somebody like Showerhead, who's like kind of able to like damage Garo as well. So basically, any feat that you can attribute to like the demons of the association, Phoenix Man should just be better than. Again, besides G5, because his placement, like, obviously isn't based on, like, reading of his power level. It's more so, like, the feat he did with, like, Nariki Squad and everything. The next one, some people aren't going to like what I have to say about EC Genos, but people are going to be like, oh, EC Genos was getting folded by Garo. What are you talking about? He was losing. He was barely beating up dead Garo. No, that's not what happened.
I guess I think we should establish, like, right off the bat is that Genos' demeanor in the Garo fight is implied to be pretty casual. This is supported by like just like him letting Garo, like almost letting Garo tear his arm off and just
Pretty
like
much.
complete pinning him to the tree. And then right after he literally says to Garo that they don't have time to deal with a punk like him. So
Yeah, exactly. He's not treating Garo serious, or yeah, he's not treating Garo seriously at all. Like, we see even in the same form when he goes to fight EC, not only is his demeanor completely different, but he's using completely like higher level attacks, right? And we also have to realize that Genos was in a bad situation because he couldn't use like he couldn't even use like his hand blasts, right? Because Garo was taking advantage of the fact that there was like other heroes in that area. So Garo himself knew that if he got hit by an incineration, then he'd be screwed, right? Even the incineration that he did dodge was like an aim dodge because it had to like the light lit up through the ground and then he noticed that and then he like moved his head, right? But the incineration still moved like much further. He had time to see it. Cause similar to like the Spring Mustachio situation, right? Where like the light shows up and he's able to like react to that, not the actual attack.
We also have a pretty direct comparison of speed where like when Genos backs away from Garo's like water stream barrage and like ducks behind, his jet punch is so fast it's able to cross the distance from like Garo's hip all the way to his face, and Garo only barely manages to like deflect it with his
with like water stream.
Had Genos gone for his midsection, he would have like just hit Garo.
Yeah, and that was like with water stream. Like, he's being extremely casual. Like, even in cases where, for example, against Sonic, maybe, he was like completely not pumping the brakes. He was constantly amping himself in terms of speed and always accelerating. Same thing against like Saitama, right? If you look at those fights compared to the way he was treating Garo, he was kind of treating Garo like a kid, right? Like, he wasn't really worried about Garo all that much. Like, Garo did no damage to him in that entire fight. We have to remember that. Like, even when Garo did get a hit with like a water stream, he just didn't like Genos just didn't care like at all. So
another thing is that Genos' cannons, at least like his spiral incineration cannons in this form, are honestly pretty underrated. The first one he uses against Elder Centipede when Phoenix Man is flying like Garo away. That cannon, like when Bang and Bomb see it, is strong enough that they think they have to immediately use their combined technique.
Yeah, like, and that wasn't even like his full blast. Like, Bomb was like, if that didn't work, like, you know. So he's like, they're obviously putting stock into his blast, at least like his semi better blast than like his normal hands, right? Because it wasn't like a true spiral incineration or anything like that. and his jet drive is like able to break EC's tooth. When he blasts EC, he's aiming in the direction of his body, yet just the sheer amount of energy from the true spiral is able to crack the front of his carapace. So that's like better than like anything. That's why he could unironically be higher than this. But we're going to be giving Drive Knight the benefit of the doubt. And with that, we'll also just put down base MA Genos. They basically scale the same. So you could argue EC Genos being higher, which would by proxy probably make him higher, right? They could go higher just because like damaging EC is a better feat than pretty much any, like way better than anything Drive Knight has, right? So, but we're just going to be giving the benefit of the doubt and saying that like Drive Knight is at least somewhat relative to base MA Genos. And if that's the case,
Drive
like
Knight-
that's fine.
Drive Knight also scaled to, like Neon, who's a
Yeah.
cadre, and it would just go back into that Garo scaling I mentioned.
Exactly,
earlier,
yeah.
Like would apply to Drive Knight as well.
And he'd be stronger than Garo. Besides maybe EC Genos, stronger than Garo to a much greater degree than any of these three, or really any of these guys. Just because he like slams Neon with like low energy. Like Neon can't even like damage his gold form, which is cracked. Like
People kind of like underestimate like how badly Drive Knight stomped Neon. Like
yeah, it was horrible. Like he was speed blitzing him, like no selling his attacks. Like he was beating up Neon pretty bad, right? So Neon is at least bare minimum like baseline cadre level, which would get him above like Garo. So
and then for that Genos, like besides just being stronger than EC Genos, when they're fighting the Jet, Genos just has better feats against the Jet than Drive Knight does. We see like them both blasting. We see Drive Knight blasting the Jet, but not doing much damage. But the moment like Genos like joins and combines his blast, that's when they damage her. So it seems like Genos is carrying most of the AP there.
yeah, he should be like that redraw really just screwed with Drive Knight, man.
And that's also when Genos is like massively weakened, like probably below
Yeah,
his
like
base.
post 10 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like melting and all that. So yeah, he also one shots G5 core, which is cracked because he does that casually with like a normal kick, whereas like Atomic and base has trouble. So Atomic is next. You could argue there's a solid argument for this Genos being higher, right? Because if it's consistent with his other forms, then like his base kicks would be like demonstrably lower than like his higher level blasts, which would give him like a much higher assertion over Atomic, at least in terms of AP. But for the benefit of the doubt for Atomic, because I think he's pretty underrated, at least in his base state, without the Sunblade, I'm just going to put him a whole tier higher and say that it's possible you could argue that both of these Genoses go higher just because of their sheer AP. Even this Genos' speed, like, if you think that base Genos is the one that deflected the initial blast, and 10-second Genos is the one that, like, overpowered Cyrochi's blast, then this Genos would be, like, way higher. It'd be, like, up here or, like, the top of this tier or something. So,
If you think that entire like mode was just 10-second mode, then yeah, sure.
yeah. So, that's fine. Atomic, pretty cracked in base, to be honest. We've talked about this before, but he has feats of, like, blitzing and just cutting up Vomited Fear Ugly, who, like, speed blitzes Darkshine. So Darkshine dashes behind Vomited Fear Ugly and throws his double bazooka, and then Vomited Ugly turns around and does his own like forearm melting punch, or whatever he calls it, and he somehow like meets in the middle with Darkshine, which clearly implies that he had much less time to react, and Darkshine was already throwing his blow. And not only does like Vomited Ugly kind of match his power, right? They match in strength. He outspeeds him. The only thing you could argue is maybe Darkshine's durability like isn't really scaled to Vomited Fear Ugly's force, just because his durability is so much higher and he gets like melted. But still, the fact that Atomic is able to cut up that like Vomited Ugly and speed blitz him would imply that he's like faster than Darkshine in bursts, at least with like Atomic Slash and everything like that. And then in terms of AP, he should be around that Darkshine level since he's able to just cut up Vomited Ugly. Obviously, his durability isn't on that same level, though.
Another thing is that Darkshine thinks that Atomic Samurai can just instantly neg the Garo he fought. And the thing about this Garo is that this is Garo after he's fought Orochi, and who is like way stronger than the Garo who just got like, who recovered from like Royal Ripper.
Yeah.
Who fought like the 3 friends. He's gotten like a one-shot level stronger from like tanking Rover's orbs, and then he got way stronger against Giro, against Orochi, and then that Garo who Darkshine fought, Darkshine still thinks Atomic can just like neg him.
Yeah. Like the fact that Atomic can just like destroy that version of Garo, at least by Darkshine's words, is like cracked. So that should be
Like
like it.
by like higher assertion that Garo should be like Garo should probably be above like most of A tier by that point. Maybe not
Yeah.
raw power for Genos,
Yeah,
but
yeah, he probably wouldn't have more AP than like Genos, but in terms of
it's like
just like
normal.
definitive scaling, overall he should be above these guys. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I know a lot of people are gonna get really mad
Like,
about this, but we have Brave Giant above Darkshine. Um
we can cover Darkshine first. Like Darkshine is pretty simple. Like he can basically like nearly one shot that same Garo, and that's when he's like still suppressed.
yep.
And then when he gets full power, he's able to
Match
like
with like Spiral Garo.
yeah, an even stronger Garo. And then what's like more significant is that his durability is way above his ability
Yeah.
to like output damage because he's able to take Garo's like his own
Water
force
stream,
thrown
yeah.
at him. Yeah, with double the force, which is like it's two times the force of his own AP, and like he's just completely unharmed at the end of that fight.
Yeah, it Darkshine's durability like carries him. It's pretty cracked. If you're using it in character for Darkshine though, it does suck pretty bad for him because if you argue when like if the character can damage him at any point, like maybe Atomic could damage him at some point if he lands enough blows. Unless you think like Atomic Sword just breaks on his body, then like fair enough. But um, then Darkshine would just like start sitting in the corner and crying, and then probably just lose the fight. But
Yeah, but otherwise, his durability is just like way above what Atomic can output with his slashes, at least like immediately. Right?
yeah, exactly. So and then Brave Giant, honestly,
You got this, bro.
yeah, okay. So for anyone that's seen my Gar versus Phoenix Man video, they'll know where I'm going with this. Because Child Emperor does scale to the same level as Phoenix Man. If anything, he's actually stronger with maximum output, which is very different from pre-redraw. Pre-redraw, he was actually weaker than Phoenix Man's strongest forms. But Child Emperor's Brave Giant is like cracked. So there's a couple ways you could scale it. You could scale it above like the barriers, right? It's stated to be his ultimate weapon, right? It should be his strongest weapon of all. Um, it should scale above like the barriers, the dogs, and all that good stuff. So if it scales above the barriers, Homeless Emperor's like giant spear bomb that he stated he was no longer going to hold back on the surface, right? He's no longer hindered by the structure of the Monster Association. He throws that, and the dog like hops in and blocks it with like the barrier. You could argue that Child Emperor just wrapped the barrier around the dog, and that's why the dog doesn't like disintegrate, right? Because he doesn't sustain any more damage than what we're shown on screen, but the barrier does, implying that he did like put the barrier behind the dog. But the barrier is like ripped up and destroyed, but it took it way more than Phoenix, like base resurrected Phoenix Man, just shredding through 5 barriers, which is like cracked. And base Phoenix Man isn't even stronger than like a semi going all out Brave Giant. Like maximum output Brave Giant kind of stomped base Phoenix Man, at least resurrected, and is able to like start to overpower even like stronger forms of Phoenix Man. Like even Prominence Hawk mode was like getting stomped by maximum output Child Emperor, which should be like way stronger in terms of feats than base resurrected Phoenix Man. And you could also say that Child Emperor just straight up should scale to characters like EC, since he's able to see EC fight twice, or at least bare minimum once against Metal Bat. He's like thrashing around. Phoenix Man and Child Emperor should have good knowledge on EC, but Phoenix Man thinks he's like omnipotent in the number one living being, which would imply he thinks he's stronger than like Orochi, who he thinks is way stronger than EC. Um, and the same would go for Child Emperor, since he's planning. He literally says Phoenix Man like goes beyond his expectations. So his expectations was he thought he was going to fight Monster King Orochi, which is way above EC, right? So he's consistently like way above this Darkshine tier of power, right? Because those homeless orbs scale to like vomited, right? Way lesser orbs. Um,
It's
and
it's it's like actually pretty absurd
yeah,
how much higher Child Emperor is like than Darkseid actually.
yeah. You could even argue him being in like a somewhat into this tier, but we'll save that for another time. Um, next is no weapons flashy.
Oh
Um,
boy.
I know some people are probably going to be mad at this just because I think no weapons flashy is a little bit overrated. Um, no weapons flashy is like cracked, right? He's stated to be like, or he's implied to be maybe the strongest human that has ever fought like platinum or golden or anything
Yeah.
like that. So that would get
It
him
would,
like above Darkshine and stuff.
it would also get them like debatably above like Sunblade Atomic Samurai because we
Yeah.
know Golden's spawn like atomic at that point.
Yeah. And there's some arguments both ways. I will say I do have Sunblade right above No Weapons Flashy. I think they should be relative in most aspects. Just because Golden kind of like hypes up Atomic like really bad. He's like, is this monsterization with such great power? Like, it comes consequences, right? So he's like fucking gassing up Sunblade, whereas like Flashy, he's just like, you're weak, right? He's weak without his sword, or he just straight up calls him weak when he like taps him into the ground, and Flashy is no longer fighting, right?
The thing with that statement of like Platinum calling Flashy the highest level a single human can reach, that's only after Flashy kind of abandons his pride as a
Yeah,
ninja and just starts like spurging out and like going
yeah,
ham on
exactly.
Platinum. So, like it's only like up after that point that like he
Yeah.
considers like Flashy more impressive than like
Then a
Sunblade
Sunblade
Atomic.
Atomic, yeah. So it'd be like
But besides
Resolve amped and No Weapons Flashy.
Besides that, though, Flashy should just like blatantly scale to like Platinum S and Monster Garo. Like I know people like don't want to accept that, but it's honestly pretty blatant in the fight. They clash dozens of times over, and it's not like Platinum or Garo have like a reason to hold back to such a significant degree that they'd be like weaker than Golden S. So
Yeah, exactly. It just wouldn't really make sense. It doesn't really.
and then Flashy with his weapon.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is okay. We're probably just gonna have to place these two at the same time.
to go over like Flashy with his weapon first,
Yeah,
it would be like Flashy with like the Flashy Slash can one shot people who can like
tank his kicks.
attacks.
Yeah,
Because Monster Hellfire and Gelwind, they take the flashy kicks like at full speed flashy kicks them with the flashy clicks, and although they're stunned because of his speed, they're not really like harmed to any degree. They're still kind of like, okay, we need to get back into position and like fight him again.
yeah,
But the flashy slash literally cuts them in half,
yeah,
like cuts them with butter. So the flashy slash is just like absurdly above like what he can do with his fists, which is why he'd probably be above like Sunblade Atomic with the sword.
yeah. So he definitely like he'd probably cut Atomic in half, to be honest, like really, really badly. Like it just if they're relative in terms of like most stats, or at least in terms of like combat speed and everything, then that would imply that this Flashy like even tagging Atomic once, especially because Atomic's durability isn't great, he would just
That
kill him.
statement like Flash doesn't have his weapon.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's more so like Atomic is like a little bit above this one rather than a fully kitted Flashy, right? Because he attributes him being a lot weaker due to that. And then Bang, this one's super debatable. You could argue that either of these are above one another.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I don't really know. I would say that you could say that Bang or Flashy is stronger. Depends on how you interpret like the sleeping nerf and all that. But if you think that he's not much, or if you think he's not weaker at all than the one that fought Flashy, then Bang should be above. But if you think the sleeping difference and like maybe the adaptation difference is there, then Flashy definitely stomps. He should be able to just like cut Bang in half. Most likely.
It just comes down to like where you like how strong you think this like the sleeping Garo that fought Bang was, because that makes all the difference basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So for the sake of this, I'm just gonna put Bang above for at least for MA arc, but that does change when we get to Flashy in current state.
Current
Current
Flashy is insane.
Yeah, current Flashy like is cracked because he along with Sonic is able to like fight the Heavenly Ninja Party. The Heavenly Ninja Party are kind of insane because they're above like current Hellfire and Galewind, and those two are stronger than their monster states by their own word, right? They think they're a lot tougher than when they last fought him, and when they did last fight Flashy, they did kind of cuck down, right? They were like, "Oh yeah, you're just like way stronger, right? Like you're just stronger than us. What did we do wrong?" Like,
And they should know that like they lost pretty badly, because when they're revived by Phoenix Man, they still have like a massive scar across their torso, so they should be able to come to the conclusion they were just cut in half by Flashy Flash.
yeah,
And even with that in mind, in their human forms, they just like roll up the Flashy Flash and are like, okay, bro, come on, square up.
yeah, like run it, yeah. So they're confident in fighting him now, right? They're confident in fighting him now, even maybe under the assumption that he could have gotten a little bit stronger, like he stomped them out, right? So
Yeah.
they should be much stronger. And then the Heavenly Ninja Party is implied to be above Hellfire and Galewind, and obviously Flashy like dismantles the Heavenly Ninja Party. And speak
Another thing is that the resolve amp we talked about earlier with like Flashy attacking Platinum. Flashy currently has like
the
sort of
permanent
like
version
abandoned.
of that.
Yeah, he's abandoned his pride. It's like he's like not being like held back by like his
Yeah,
pride. So he's just kind of like on like a new level, like altogether, like permanently now.
yeah. I think that he kind of retains that amp. So you could argue that like even just without the training and the fact that he got a lot stronger via like scaling in his own and Hellfire and Galeone's own statements, just him having this like resolve amp, and with that resolve amp he was able to like blitz suppress plat. It's kind of cracked, right? Then we got the flashy Slayer. No, I'm trolling, but Sonic does scale to
You had
flashy.
Sonic there? Hey, you had Sonic there? I didn't even know.
Yeah. Okay. Just because this is an S class list, but I had to put Sonic there because I know people are gonna get mad that Sonic scales to Flashy. He does. He is relative to Flashy. There's really no argument otherwise.
It does say that like he just like has to use like his flashy kicks against Sonic. Like
Yeah.
he was forced to use them against like his 10 shadows technique. Or not
Yeah.
10 shadow. No, not 10. No, it's
Was it
JJK.
JJK?
Tenfold funeral technique. There we go. Not
Yeah.
JJK. Jesus.
Yeah. Brain rot. But no, so Sonic is cracked out just because he's able to like force him into using those attacks, and he still blocks it. I know people like to use the anti-feed of like him getting a nosebleed, but Flashy could have also just gotten hit in that situation. Sonic was fighting the entire Heavenly Ninja Party alone, while yeah, like they off guarded him because he thought they were gonna go fight Flashy, right? But they fought him instead. So all of them jumping him, besides Hellfire and Gale, because Flashy was dealing with Hellfire and Gale. Like Flashy,
I can grab this statement specifically.
yeah,
Village protocol dictates they take out their weakest opponent first, and that means Flash.
yeah,
So I guess I should go protect him.
yeah, exactly. So he's like severely caught off guard. Yeah, he's like, it's like actually insane, just because.
It's chapter 196, by the way.
Yeah, this is their fight. This is just him blocking. Like he uses it, and then he says it right here. I never expected to use my absolute technique against you. Blah blah blah. And then they realize that he like blocked it. You blocked my flashy kick, right? And then in the next chapter, he thinks that right here, yeah, he gets surprised, and that means Flash. So I should probably go save him. Yeah, so go protect him, right? So Flashy's caught off guard in that instance anyway. And even off guard, he doesn't take any hits here, right? He's literally fighting all of them except for Hellfire and Gale. It just doesn't make sense. So
before people bring up like the final chapter of like Flashy kind of like darting around and quickly taking out the ninjas, the thing about that is that when Flashy jumps into the air, Sonic is able to like physically turn his body and look at Flashy Flash, and even all the other ninjas are able to still like physically react to Flashy Flash. So like they're less shocked about like his raw speed because they can still like see him move and stuff. It's the fact that he can like so easily dismantle like the technique they use, which is like throwing rocks in the air and darting around. Because Flashy Flash has already dealt with that with like Platinum and Garo, so
yeah,
it's an experience.
It's an experiment. It's an experience feat. It doesn't make sense. Even Sonic like reacts to the initial jump. Actually, when they first do it.
Like,
yeah, like right here, you can see that he reacts. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense to say that Sonic doesn't scale. He clearly does. You could say Flashy's a little bit above. Fine, that's whatever. Sonic still scales to him. It's irrelevant, right?
Pretty directly, like borderline even characters
Yeah.
at this point.
Kind of just blatant, right? Metal Knight, he can go like here, whatever. Metal Knight's pretty boring to scale, so I don't really care where you put him. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he could beat up like EC. Child Emperor's statement of him like having the most firepower of any lone hero, and he thinks that King can like solo those cadre that are in front of him. If you argue that, then sure, Metal Knight is just better than everyone here. Arguably like would be here. It's kind of unquantifiable with those guys because they're both just blatantly above like Bang. He's just above EC who scales above Bang, and these guys are.
Like Metal Knight has a lot of like interpretations about his power. Is the problem? Like
Yeah,
he can go as like low as like below Darkshine or like above Bang. It just depends.
Yeah, it really does. Like Child Emperor's statements are kind of wonky in terms of Metal Knight. It just we're just gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because even like Giro's statement that he could be EC was based off of a lack of knowledge. Giro didn't know how much of an arsenal Metal Knight truly had. So she was just assuming that maybe he had a big enough arsenal, and
Yeah,
enough firepower.
it's not like
It's like
based on like
conjecture.
more concrete. Yeah, yeah, not based on like more concrete knowledge like with Tatsumaki and like King and stuff. It's more like speculation.
Yeah. And then the goat himself, Child
Oh yeah.
Emperor
Oh,
pre-redraw.
clarify. Yeah. Like you said, this is Child Emperor specifically from like the retcon fight with Phoenix Man, including like Brilliant Eagle and things like that. So
Yeah.
we're just
So
ranking him because why not?
yeah, this one's cracked. You could argue he's like below these guys, but he's at bare minimum like above this version of Flashy. Like he's bare minimum somewhere here. I'm just gonna leave him here. It doesn't really matter. Basically,
Yeah.
it depends on how you argue it. But Monster Hellfire and Galewind are like kicking this Child Emperor like Brave Giant and doing no damage like at all.
And what's important about Monster Hellfire and Galewind is that earlier, like in their fight with Flashy Flash, they both attack him at the same time, just like they do with Brave Giant, and they're able to make like Flashy Flash, like they're able to like push Flashy Flash back and make him like cough up blood from the impact, right?
Yeah. So the fact that Brave Giant doesn't even get like semi damaged by those two is cracked. And then Plat or not Plat, what the Diamond Eagle, Brilliant Eagle, whatever you want to call it, right? Blitzes and like rips off this Child Emperor's arm casually, or the Brave Giant arm. And Brave Giant was able to damage Brilliant Eagle, right? He's able to damage Diamond Eagle with his Millennium Emperor Nova. So his AP would scale that. Yeah.
Yeah, literally sees like half of his suit like really badly.
Yeah. So like Millennium Emperor Nova probably like one shot like MA arc Flashy Flash.
Yeah. Then I guess you could say like he might lose the fight with like the other characters in this tier because he's so slow, except for Sunblade Atomic because like
Yeah.
his stamina issue.
He does seem to be able to at least somewhat react to the ninjas. He's able to perceive them completely fine, so
Yeah. But, like you could say like okay, well flat like he's just like slower than everyone in that tier, but like he's definitely like at least in that tier because his
yeah,
feats
bare
are
minimum.
advanced.
And like characters like a lot of them might just not be able like especially like No Weapons Flashy, like maybe Sunblade, like they don't have the feats necessary to damage him. So and if they ever did get hit, it'd be pretty bad, like especially by like Millennium Emperor Nova.
I think I have to use like 2 or 3 flashy slashes to damage.
Yeah. He also has like the 100 times stronger than normal irritating barrier.
Oh yeah, he can just like bust out a shield which is like 100 times stronger than his normal shields. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's cracked. If you want to place him, like, I don't really care where in this tier. He should bare minimum be like a here or a bare minimum here. But I'm just gonna leave him here. Put some respect on his name. He's like stupidly strong for no reason. The next couple of characters I'll actually put down at the same time, just because they like scale pretty similarly. I'm doing it in this order. Obviously, Tatsumaki would scale above 10 seconds Genos. She like one shots Sairochi, which is cracked. These two are debatable.
For Metal Bat, bare minimum, like people like have a problem with this, but like it is what it is. He basically scales directly to Garo in speed. And the thing about this Garo is that this is Garo right after he got like done horrendously blitzing like Platinum S. Like he drops like a few meters away from a full power bloodlusted enraged Platinum S and moves so fast that like Platinum S is frozen like frozen in place.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah,
And
so
Metal Bat like
he can like keep up. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh well, the people on the helicopter could perceive them, which is so it's so like not cognizant and not paying attention to the context of the fight. It's in the context of Plat and versus Flashy versus Garo, right? They were jumping off of like rocks and continuously moving, dashing around, jumping, right? They had like rocks in the air to bounce off of. They were using the rubble. Whereas in the fight with Sage, there's multiple points in time where they're like standing still or they're like in the air, right? Suspended in the air. They can't go any faster.
Obviously, they can't move like freely in the air, right?
Yeah. So there's no like it's not like either of them can fly or anything, right? So it's not really an anti-feat.
If anything, Garo should be trying like his
Way
absolute
harder.
hardest, because contextually Tario's life is in danger, so he should be trying way harder against Sage Centipede than he was against Platinum.
Yeah, exactly. So he should be putting in his full effort here. It really makes no sense to say otherwise. Even when like Metal Bat suggests that they just like hit him a lot really fast, he's like, okay, fair enough, right? So he doesn't think that there's just no reason for you to say that. In terms of AP or speed, Metal Bat doesn't scale. We know that he's slightly weaker via the statement with amplification and resonance, right? But that doesn't matter.
So, like, AP is like able to like just like damage,
Just damage
Sage
Sage.
with, yeah, with Garo and stuff like that. There is like a higher interpretation for Sage's power that we could go into, but like I think the platinum scaling is just like sufficient enough.
Yeah, it's the platinum scaling alone gets him above everyone here pretty easily.
Like, he would just blitz and like
Yeah, he just blitz in one shot. Like he'd crack everyone's skull. Like it's pretty bad. Now, for Genos, his side of the argument would just simply be like he definitely he's able to like overpower Sairochi, which is cracked, right? So he should have better raw power than Metal Bat, but I'm okay with saying that Metal Bat would win in a fight, right? He could outlast those 10 seconds, dip around. He has better speed scaling. But in terms of just raw power,
Metal Bat's like a lot fast. Like Genos is stronger, Metal Bat is faster, so Metal Bat would probably win the fight, but Genos like should place higher based on like raw stats.
Yeah, and raw stats he should just place higher, which is fine. If you're one of those people who thinks that Sage is like stronger than Sairochi, then maybe Metal Bat has better AP.
Yeah, I think like Sage above Orochi is like a more reasonable.
It's a more consistent interpretation. Even if you want to argue Sage alone is that strong, like even if you want to argue Sage alone is Sairochi level or stronger, it kind of doesn't matter because Genos' feat against Sairochi is better than Metal Bat's feats against Sage.
Like Genos like in the last stretch was able to like just straight up match and honestly overpower a Sairochi beam. Like he shows like more power than Sairochi. Now obviously he wouldn't like beat Sairochi because Sairochi has no stamina issues, but like in terms of raw power, he's like debatably stronger.
Yeah, exactly. Like that blast was meant to kill Genos and Tatsumaki. So there's no reason for you to say it's holding back, especially because the previous beam like got deflected by Genos. It doesn't make sense.
Another thing is if you want to say like Sairochi got like weaker against after like the twist, that doesn't make sense because the majority of her mass comes from underground, not like the body Tatsumaki twisted, so she wouldn't be nerfed in power.
Yeah,
if at all.
Like it definitely wouldn't be significant whatsoever. And the fact that Sairochi still thinks that she could like kill Tatsumaki with a blast would bare minimum still scale Genos to Tatsumaki at this point. So it really doesn't matter.
And then Tatsumaki is like
at full power is just cracked.
Yeah, the same Monster King fusion we'd be hyping up for like the past 5 minutes. She just like negs when she goes full power.
Right. Yeah. It's literally Orochi plus God Amp plus like Earth Amp plus Psychos Amp. Like it's cracked. These three are kind of like these three are just. I mean.
Blast is pretty self-evident. Like Blast, like has not only like a bunch of statements saying he's like above the S class, but like he fights like a character. Like he fights Cosmic Garo, which should be stronger than like Peak Monster Garo, who is probably stronger than everyone. Or
definitely stronger than pretty much everyone. Besides, like if you want to maybe argue that full power Tatsumaki could like fight a Monster Garo at his peak, that's like whatever because Blast still scales well higher.
And then like Blast basically has like the best feat in the S class for just being able to react to and partially contain 2 serious punches at once.
Yeah, which is insane, right? Because like he reacts and he takes the force of it as well. Like we can't forget that he did get knocked back.
He's right next to them.
Yeah, so the fact that Blast could even do that by himself for a bit, and I know that people like to bring up like his crew helping him out, but that's just standard. Like it's almost like standard equipment for him. There's no fight that Blast would be in that his crew couldn't help him. So it's still a feat for him regardless.
It wouldn't negate the speed feat of that. It wouldn't like the speed aspect of that feat anyway. So
yeah, it wouldn't matter. Yeah, and he's still able to like have the AP to like punch up like Cosmic or whatever. This king, and he's just king. I mean, there's not really much to talk about when you're talking about king.
Genos is kind of weird. If you want to talk about Genos, because it's weird.
So current Genos is here for a couple reasons. The first thing I'll say is with a more conservative-ish interpretation, maybe you could say he's like here, right? He should be around like this flashy level, just because like he spars or not spars per se, but he gets into an altercation with Flashy, and it seems like they're both fine, right? So it's kind of implied that neither of them really got hit, but they were clashing. So he it's pretty consistent for him to be around there. He's able to move like relatively to Flashy when Flashy's dismantling the ninjas the first time. So he should bare minimum be around that like flashy without like techniques tier. And that's without the lightning core, and that's like hyper casual from Genos. But the reason he can be up here is how literally you take the parallel between him and the Death Punch of Season 1. If you want to take that literally and say that he scales to Season 1 Saitama, then he's just up here. He'd still be weaker than Blast and King, but he's just up here just because of that like parallel that we're drawing. He's supposed to just be that much stronger, and it kind of makes sense just because of like the sheer amount of like it's literally the exact same scene, and even in a more casual setting without the lightning core, he's like as fast as Flashy, or at least casual Flashy, which would get him above pretty much all these people. And if you want to argue that lightning core should inherently scale above 10 seconds because it's like an upgraded form and he can easily take down dragons now, then he should definitely be above 10 seconds. If you want to say that 10 seconds was like an amp, like no way, right? Then like the lowest possible interpretation for him would just be above like base MA Genos. But I think that's pretty disingenuous. Yeah, I think that's pretty disingenuous to say. So if he does scale to Season 1 Saitama, then yeah, he's just here.
Yeah, I think that's everything we need to talk about, right? That's just the
Yeah,
list.
that's pretty much the list. Some of these placements don't have to be taken to heart specifically. Some of them can be moved up and down, like some forms of Genos. But I will say that I think this is pretty much around where I have everything. Child Emperor beats up Darkshine, bro. I don't care.
I mean, like them, well, yeah, there are probably still gonna be some like takes in this list that like most people
Yeah.
think intense, like go against the grain with what most people think. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of. But if you have any genuine concerns, you know, you can comment and complain and tell me why Child Emperor is actually weaker than Base Drive Knight. That's cool.
And also join the Discord if you want. Linked in the description.
So if I have any takes on here that you want to run with me, maybe you're like, nah, this guy's an idiot, then you can join the Discord and debate me on pretty much anything on this tier list, and I'll hold my position.